This is my first show exclusively with two amazing, as you have seen, dance artists, and I realize my guests are out of breath after they present.
We're too exhausted to like lie to you though. So.
Right. All the defenses are down. Now I could really go for the heart of the matter. Well, thank you so much for sharing your art with us. What I observe is how your emotions, your heart, perhaps your fragileness, your vulnerability is so available to us in your movements and your expression. Is that something that you have noticed about yourself since you began dancing, or since you began breathing?
Well, I began dancing when I was 3, so it's hard for me to say what it was like in the beginning. But I think as an adult artist and dancer, I think exploring vulnerability and remaining vulnerable is a choice. And I definitely make that choice every time I move to explore my vulnerability. Which it could be very easily, I very easily couldn't. I could keep a wall up. But for 2 reasons, for you guys, for the audience, and whoever's experiencing it, my vulnerability is key so that you can access whatever universal themes I'm touching on. And also for myself, if I'm not vulnerable, I'm not really learning much. A lot of the same things Alex touched on too. Yeah, dance is the way I remain vulnerable to the world. Really.
Well, if in the way we're speaking of vulnerability, of self-revealing in a kind, well, I guess there's a gradation. You talked about the walls, and then maybe no walls, and maybe a kind of nakedness as far as our emotional selves. I would imagine that perhaps some performances or even just rehearsal process could be painful. How do you deal with such pain or discomfort of vulnerability?
Yeah, well, I don't think you don't always have to access that vulnerability. We were talking about this. I direct a dance company I founded a couple years ago called Backbone. I've got one bone over there. And we were talking about this last night, how it's exhausting when you're dancing every day to just be like, here are my emotions, here's my story, over and over again. And then, like I said, it's a decision. So sometimes we're dancing and we're sharpening our tools, right? We're working on shapes and lines and textures and musicality. And then every time we kind of just turn a knob on in our head, then we can access that vulnerability to protect ourselves, so we're not always spilling our guts on the floor.
Right, you can modulate.
Right, yeah.
You make choices. And I'm curious, when you said that you have been dancing since you're 3 years old, what form did the dance take at 3 years old? Well, did you have parents who enrolled you in this and then that, and then what kind of?
Yeah, the story goes, I have an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. I always thought I was the same age as him, as little siblings do. So when my brother got on the bus to go to kindergarten, I just followed him. And I was like, here I go, I'm going to school. And my mom had to pull me, and I'm really sensitive. So I think I cried for a whole day. And then she's like, I gotta throw her in something. And she just chose dance.
Oh.
And it stuck because it's so energetic, and I was raised with music, a love of music, so I think that's what I connected to first as a kid, is rhythm and music, and just being able to go crazy at it. And yeah, and then my parents, they are very supportive in the way that they just wanted to support what I loved, and I kept loving it as a kid.
And as you grew up, I'm curious whether particular forms of dance or performing arts, movies, live, what sort of things was your nutrition in becoming who you are?
In high school, I actually quit dancing. I was in the competition world, which takes a lot of forms. The form I was involved in was pretty close to a beauty pageant. Just not a lot of art for me, not a lot of individuality. super important themes in my life. So I quit dance and I turned into a painter. And I pursued that into college. I was like, I'll never dance again. Don't even talk to me about it. Picked up guitar, all sorts of things. So I've always picked up these artistic tools. But then when I came into college, I met Worm Tank, which is somewhere here. Thank you. And I was in college. I was studying painting, doing the college thing, and I was super unfulfilled. I was really sad. I just didn't have a lot of purpose. And that's when a couple of the Worm Tank leaders were like, you should probably dance. And that's when I found hip hop.
But you used a word, did you say Worm Tank?
Worm Tank crew, yeah.
The Worm Tank crew.
Sorry for the
no, it's okay. So I'm sort of getting who the Worm Tank, but could you say more about who or what the Worm Tank crew is?
Right, so Worm Tank is a people-girly crew that the group that Changa and White Boy talked about, where we met Changa when he was a disaster of an 8th grader, and Julio and Dono is still a disaster sometimes. It started with like us just hanging out and dancing together. So we're just a crew, we're a family, and that's really the heart of the block. So they brought me in, just like we found each other. We've all been lost in different ways, and Worm Tank is really, I think, what grounds us and gives us purpose.
It's just, I'm not used to the words Worm Tank together
as
an artist. No, I don't necessarily need the story, but so we should all wish for our own private, personal worm tanks to help us find our way home.
Right.
It's just a bit of poetry that I would not have come up with on my own, that we need, but you found you found this path. And it's called Worm Tank, and it's connected to Block 1750, and it's a matter of years that you have been connected in this way.
Yeah, the way I like to think of it is that I was just like a sad worm coming out for rain, on the pavement, and I was like pretty much ready to just be like, yep, this is it, like I'm good. And then like this squad, this like pretty beat up, gross truck of just like the weirdest colored worms came up and were like, want to eat dinner? And then I just jumped on the truck, and I've been on ever since.
And how many years ago, to give us some kind of, I don't know, arc, did you meet up with these Worm Tank amazing artists?
It was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are searching for our individual worm tank, apparently it's possible.
It exists.
It
Don't
exists.
lose faith.
It exists. Our inspiration, our connection. Well, that's lovely to hear and to know. Who else might have a question for Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah, tonight it almost seemed like an afterthought. You said, can I say something first? Mm-hmm. And then you talked about the sacredness of your art and safety being a necessary thing for you. Yeah. Is that something you always request from people that are watching your art form? Or were you feeling particularly vulnerable and all of a sudden just said, I need to ask about it tonight?
That's a great question. I only asked that question, I mean, I always want that, but I knew in kind of being here for the first act, and also being comfortable like this is a home of mine, I felt the opportunity to ask, just to provide another layer, and just so I could kind of dig in deep right away instead of getting there. I think even when I ask it, I still didn't 100% feel safe, but I felt safe enough to ask, if that helps answer.
Well, this place is your home,
right?
As it is for a number of people present, and I am honored by that number of people who have invited me into your home. Thank you, thank you for letting me into your home. I'm very honored and delighted and moved that here I am, and I feel like I'm new here. Are we ready for another piece? Or?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But maybe just before, I know that the block has events coming up. Mm-hmm. I might have asked Alex, or is that something you could speak to let people know of things happening that they might be interested in?
Yeah, sure. I can start, and I'm sure I'll be interrupted by like 5 different people. First one on my mind is my company. We're putting on a show here on August 12th and 13th. We put up blackout curtains. We call it the Block Box. And it's going to be a really small, intimate show. We're only doing 2 showings of about 50 people in the audience each. We are a crew of all women. We are freestyle dancers, choreographers, just performing artists. And every single person, I've got 7 in Colorado and 3 in LA. And every single person is participating and showing real, intimate, vulnerable work. So yeah, it's coming up in a month. And then the next month in September, we have our biggest event of the year, which is called
Block Party!
Block Party. Yeah, and we put it out, what is it, our 5th, 4th year? 6th year? Who knows? We put it out in the parking lot. We get this huge, ridiculous tent. People fly in from all over the world, literally, for over a week. And the big event is on September 2nd and 3rd. It's free. It is like insane dancers, insane DJs. It takes the form of battles, crew battles, 5v5s. There's performances, there's classes. It's just a fun time, a whole weekend of craziness.
And it is called
Block Party.
Block Party.
Do you want to say anything?